and welcome back to NILfluencer. I am so excited. My name is Rachel Mueller, aka the Girl IQ, and I'm here today with my wonderful co-host, amazing former Atlanta Falcons defensive back, Omar Brown.
Hey y'all, how's everyone? Hope you all are doing well.
How are you
to be
doing?
here.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm excited to be back in. Been working like crazy.
Oh my gosh, I feel like everyone's just been working 24/7. It's like, when we're not working, what are we doing? We're still working.
We're still working, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
But I tell people it's busy is good, you know?
Busy is good. Busy is very good. Rather be busy than not busy.
Not busy, yes. The busy people are typically the most accomplished. You know, I always, anytime I have a hard task for someone to do, I'd rather give it to someone that's already busy than someone that doesn't have anything on their plate, because a busy person will figure out how to make it work.
I was just going to say, a busy person will get it done quickly and
Right.
efficiently and
Yes.
effectively.
It's the reason why they're busy, yes.
So I wanted to start off. So a big shift happened July 1st, 2021. Can you take any guesses on why that day is so monumental?
It's COVID. COVID was such a thing in the world that I think when that happened, it caused everyone to reevaluate everything.
Yep, 100%. Literally, I think it literally shocked the world. I mean, from 2020 to, what would you say, probably 2022, we were all
Yeah.
stuck in our houses,
Yes.
literally lockdown. I can only imagine, moving forward, telling our kids, oh, we were stuck in our house for 2 years and we couldn't go out.
No. In the shift, could you imagine being an athlete during that time, and you had aspirations of getting to college or getting to the next level, you had a complete disruption in the whole system, right? So anyone's life that was, in a situation where your life changing type things going on in your life, and to get put on pause, it had to be traumatic. I always say my daughter graduated the class of 2020.
Oh my gosh. Was she able to walk or no?
No, we did. Her graduation was in a
Zoom?
it was in a car, so we drove through, and I remember it was like everyone had to drive through, and you get your little deal, and they
Oh my
hand
gosh.
out
At
the
least you
window.
guys had it. I
Yeah.
know, my brother and a couple other friends graduated during the COVID years, and they were like, we had an online Zoom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, walking was the most amazing, one of my highlights of my life, you
Yeah,
know?
I can imagine. She missed her prom, and then her freshman year in college, she was, on a soccer team, and, we get there, and it literally was, they were locked down in their dorm. I felt like I was leaving her in jail. Like, we had to drop them off. They couldn't communicate with their dorm mates. They were basically, they allowed them to come to school, but everyone was working from, their dorm. And,
Wow.
it was like, this isn't like a college experience. So,
That's so crazy.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I guess during the COVID period, how did they host practices? Did that even happen? Did they train? Was that
think-
allowed?
I think for a lot of times there was a complete shutdown, right? They stopped
Yeah.
the season for a few sports. I think winter sports were totally canceled because they were just starting. Like, they didn't have a NCAA tournament. NBA had to move inside to the bubble.
Wow.
So if you weren't in a position where you had a school or the resources to kind of keep everything in house, it was pretty much you weren't able to play. I know in California a lot of
Oh, California, I feel like was strict. At least I
Yes.
was in LA, and we were in complete lockdown.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, no, the high schools, they canceled, I think the high school season, they tried to play it in the spring, and guys, were trying to practice, and people were breaking rules, and, because it was such a unknown for so many people, and, you had some people that were like, bump this, I'm doing my life, and then you had others that were afraid to, if you coughed. And
Yeah,
you
yeah, no, oh my gosh.
people
You
look at
cough,
you
and
like
literally
you're
every
like-
head is turning and
look
looking at you.
like you're guilty, like you just committed a crime. So,
Yeah.
no, that was a challenging time.
Oh my gosh, I even remember trying to, my family lives in Orange County, and I was trying to go to the beach, and they said, the beaches are closed. You can't even go on the beaches, which is crazy because it's outside,
Right,
and
right.
it's very spacious. You're
Yeah.
not going to be next to a big crowd of people.
Yeah, they would never be able to scare folks again like that. I mean, it's just a tough thing. Unknowns are always tough, and when you have
Yeah.
something like that, and the amount of death and the way it was being presented to us on television and
It made us
everything, yeah, it
scared.
scared the heck out of everybody.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then like just seeing it like hitting, friends and family members, and then just like some were like super spreaders, which
Right.
it was like a 99% like,
Yeah.
just like spreading rate, and
Yeah.
it just was crazy. It like blew up
No.
like wildfire.
It definitely did, but it definitely changed the landscape. I think looking back, kind of off topic, but I went out to eat this week, and we went down to Laguna Beach, and it was a restaurant called
Beautiful.
230 Forest, and they moved it outside, and
Oh.
they still have the indoor seating, but that whole street that they blocked off with all that outdoor seating,
Yes.
made you feel like you're like in. I thought I was in Spain. I was like, man, I feel like I'm in Spain.
I actually really liked all the outdoor
Yes,
seating.
no, that
It
was the greatest thing that
beautiful.
happened. The ones that stuck it, kept it. Yeah, that was
Yes.
the best thing that came from COVID.
Yeah,
was
no, I totally agree. It's
especially
like,
living in
wow.
California. Finally, take
Advantage of the
advantage of our weather and all the
we pay for it.
the environment we have for sure.
Oh my gosh. So, yeah, literally, big shift happened July 1st, 2021. That's when the NCAA lifted their ban on student athletes making money off their own brand.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yep.
How do you feel about how do you feel about that? Like, to me, I feel like it just started in 2021. Like, I feel like this should have happened a long time ago.
I feel like it definitely was due. It was the amount of money that was being put into college sports, and then you started seeing the coaches, everyone in and around the program was receiving big money, and then the actual labor, the players, were only getting a scholarship. And for some people, when you hear scholarship, only getting a scholarship, they're like, what? I got $300,000 in student debt. I wish I would have got a scholarship. But what you don't understand is it was so limiting on athletes' opportunity they couldn't even really, like when I was in school, and I don't know when this law changed, we weren't even allowed to have a job. So,
Wow.
and then even if you were allowed to have a job, the commitment to being an athlete was so much that you could not really have a job. You know what I mean?
That's
And do both.
crazy.
There's no way.
So they were like, you cannot have a job outside of this.
Outside of this, and so you had to go to school and go to sports, and that was pretty much it. So you had no way to even earn money. And then I remember you would be on campus and you would see jerseys being sold, or some kind of, you see him playing a video game and you see a guy with your number and your height and your size, and
Wow.
you couldn't even get that game. We paid $50, and I was
Oh
just
my
thinking, like, how much money are they
gosh.
making on this game? And I should get a percentage. I should
No,
get
yeah,
something,
absolutely.
So yeah, no, I think it was due. I think the athletes, I think a lot of it came from being educated. I think education, a lot of athletes start understanding their worth and their value, and
Yeah.
it kind of trickled down from the higher levels, because you start seeing in professional sports where players weren't empowered a long time ago, but with the way the sports evolved, you started seeing players become empowered and being able to like force their hand and make decisions based on what they thought was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And that whole empowerment just was trickling down. And, once you start getting the lawsuits and things like that, I think the NCAA saw the writing on the wall and was like, we need to make some changes. So
100%. No, absolutely. And I feel like, what do you think pressured the NCAA to make that change?
I think it was Congress. Congress began to, people started suing them and talking about the antitrust and different kind of like labor laws and that kind of thing. And I think when you had enough athletes educate themselves, and then Congress started to realize that there was maybe some ways for their universities can become better than other schools due to the fact that they're more financially stable. It was like, wait, we can gain an advantage here. So we're going to force the NCAA's hand to pay these athletes, and that way, the schools that really are committed to these sports
Yep.
have a chance to really become the best schools. So I think it was just pressure, outside pressures, media pressure. There was a few folks in the media was talking about how, coaches are getting $5 and $6 million contracts, and you got players that can't even, afford a plane ticket home and that kind of thing.
That is absolutely wild.
Yeah.
That is so crazy. I mean, just like the difference between income, from the players to the coaches.
Right.
It's like, that's wild.
Yeah, it's like, CEO making this much and your workers making this
This much.
That gap, and then that gap eventually, and it's like that in the real world. Eventually, those gaps, something comes to a head, right? It comes to a head where it's like, we're not doing this no more, and that's when you get unions and all that other stuff. And
Yeah.
I think the NCAA saw that writing on the wall and tried to do something to get in front of it, which was the okay, now you can go make money on your own name, image, and likeness. But what they didn't do right was there wasn't enough regulations, because it was kind of like the Wild Wild West. And
Yeah.
It's still currently like that.
Yeah,
So
I was going to say, like, I feel like it's still new, or I think it's still getting developed. There's some tweaks that need to happen here and there. But it was like a boiling pot, and I think they hit that, right moment where it's like, okay, we got to do something or else it'll become a bigger issue.
Correct.
And I know all the, California pressured this, and Florida, Texas. Who
Yep.
else am I missing?
Georgia came out early with they're still making laws and doing things where I think they allow their state schools to do some things that maybe other states were outlawing, and they were forced to even the playing field. They had to relax those laws or do whatever the other states were doing. So yeah, I think it was a lot of the southern states, the SEC schools. They're a big focus. They're probably the number one revenue generating programs. And they were like, we lead from the front with this, and I think with them doing what they did, it just forced other people to get in line or
Yeah.
get left behind.
Yeah, get in line or get left behind. That's a good.
Yeah.
That's a good slogan. I like that.
That's what it is.
Trademark it.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy because I feel like literally COVID, all these athletes, like some may have been on social media, some may have not, but pretty much everyone kind of resorted to social media. So let's say some athletes came in and, came into the COVID period with not really much of a following, seeing that everyone's on social media, started posting, and out of COVID, literally, now they have, a couple tens of thousands of followers, maybe even more. So, like, if they're in that position, and now, with this new, with NIL and everything, how do you think, like, these students acted? Do you know how they reacted? What do you think was going through their minds?
From stories, some of the kids I coached and my actual kids, and just hearing different perspectives, I think what it did was it allowed them to be something other than an athlete, right? So for their whole life, they've been an athlete, and anytime the public was able to see them, it was doing that, being an athlete, right? Playing a sport or doing something sport affiliated. I think with COVID and the sport stopping, I think it was, you were able to see a lot of these athletes' personalities. Now you get to see who they really are, and the ones that really took advantage of it were the ones that knew that they were still like, they had enough celebrity status where people were interested in their life, but they had to be able to sell something that was interesting, right? You know what I mean? You could be like somebody that's people want to know about because you're who you are from a playing field. Like, oh, I like him. He's my favorite football player, favorite basketball player. But then if they're super boring, it's like,
you're like, okay, he's a good player, but he's not really exciting.
He doesn't have a bunch of personality.
Yeah.
And then the ones that had some personality, I think they were able to multiply their following and just grow their brand, because they were able to show their personality, as well as, because now their sport was over, right? So what can I show? I can show my personality.
Exactly.
And I think the ones that do that the best are the ones that can get, break through and really grow their following.
Yes. And in regards to growing the following, with them showing themselves, this is literally I upload a video, you see it, you could see exactly who I am,
Right.
And it's like, on the field, you see their gameplay, you don't know how they act, who they are, how they
Nothing.
talk, their mannerisms. But on social media, you get to see that, you get to get consumed by that, by
Yes.
them, who they are, their personality, and it's like, oh my gosh, I think I fell in love with that player even more.
Right. You get
or
to see
it's
the whole
like,
person,
okay, now
right?
I'm invested in that player because they're being vulnerable and sharing that side of them where, you know, just on the field, you just see their gameplay.
That's it. Yeah, and a lot of times you're not as expressive as you want to be, or sometimes things can be misconstrued as well. Because you're in that game mode, you may be, you know, you may come across as just evil, or not evil, that's a bad word, but come across as mean.
Yeah.
Where in reality, you're really just a silly, nice person. But when you're in between those lines, you know, it's all business. So I think a lot of what social media has done is allowed us to get almost like a backdoor into these athletes' lives, where in the past, you know, they didn't have that. But you're also a lot more vulnerable now, too, because as easy it is to make people like you, you can also make people hate you.
Yes.
And we know the internet is...
Yeah, and I literally was just going to segue into, I have a friend that was on a TV show, and, you know, it's just very broadcasted, very natural, very national. Very
Right.
broadcasted and very national.
Yeah.
Very broadcasted and very national. I'm getting a tongue-tied right
Yeah.
here. But there was a clip, and it didn't show the best side of him.
Right.
But people went over to his social media, and then we, like, understood, okay, this situation is not him. That's not who he typically is.
Right.
So they get to see and understand more of the character and the athlete, you know?
Yeah.
It gives them, you know, a second to breathe. It's like,
glimpse,
okay, what's on me?
Yeah, a glimpse into the reality. And that's so much that, you know, I with the with your social media presence, it's a reality, but it also can be a facade in a sense, right?
That's true.
Like you can control what you put out there, and that's
Yes.
all a part about building that brand and staying true to your brand.
Yes.
The more you fake it, it may get harder to stay true to your brand because it's not natural.
Yes.
Where if it's natural and you're being authentic, it's so much easier to
Yeah.
build a brand that way.
Literally, you just have to prop up the phone, be yourself, and okay,
Yes.
edit and post it away. It's
Yeah.
not like, okay, I'm putting on a face, a fake facade. I'm this type of person. And then you're like, oh, okay, I have to film another one. So I have to become this type of person.
Or if you get caught out there where you're not necessarily, you're taking the content, right? You get caught up in someone else's content. And
Yes.
if you're not...
Like at a restaurant or
right.
something.
And if you're not your authentic self, people are like, oh, he's fake. I saw him in real life, or somebody else had him on there. He's totally not like that.
Yeah,
And
being rude to the waiter.
Yeah,
Like,
or,
he seems all nice on social media, but like he's not the best
Yeah.
person.
that's so true. So I think in this whole NIL deal with these young athletes, they got to constantly realize they're always on. You know, and if you want to build, and, you know, not every athlete may not want to take advantage of, you know, all that comes with NIL, but if you truly want to maximize, you got to always be on. And, and the best way to always be on and do it, you know, the right way is to be authentic, right?
Be yourself.
Yes.
Yep. You don't want to put on a fake face, because when times get tough, then, you know, you resort to who you are. And if you're just playing a whole character, then eventually
that's going to show out.
That's going to show.
Yeah. No, I agree 100% with that.
Yeah, that's going to show. So I was going to ask, question, how does NIL differ from salary or endorsements?
Okay, so the way I basically understand the whole NIL, especially like let's talk big major Division I athlete. There's two things. So now you have the collective, and I think when NIL was originally concepted, it was okay. Athletes go out, use your name, image, likeness, find brands, sell yourself to different places, and you can make money off of that. But the way it's evolved is it's basically the school has built a collective. So the school, in the past, they would raise money to support the academic, or, you know, whatever your academic, athletic piece was. And at Carolina, for instance, it was called the Educational Foundation. So the Educational Foundation was responsible for paying for all the salaries, or paying for all the scholarships of the athletes, helping out with the coaches' salaries, all that kind of stuff. Anything that had to do with funding the sports programs, right? So they would to go and fundraise and get money, and whatever they brought in, that was under that umbrella. But now with this collective, it's a separate umbrella, right? So now it's the collectives basically put together a contract in a sense. So it's like you're getting recruited to a school. You go meet with the coaches, you meet with the program, and then you go meet with the person that's the head of the NIL, the collective, and then you go and sit down with them, and they tell you, okay, we're going to pay you this much for you coming here, and then you're signing over the right for us to use your name, image, and likeness while you're here. Yeah,
Yep.
you can still go out and get separate deals, but the collective is saying we're going to do this for you, and then you have to do certain things. You know, you might have to go sign cards or go meet, you know, do this or
Yep. Signing
represent this
autographs.
brand or be on this commercial or whatever it is. But it's all because of the collective is the one that's out there marketing you, because when you sign over, you're right. And then the collective's goal is to go out and get that money that they promise they're going to pay you from their donors or different people that want to use, you know, you as a brand ambassador type thing.
Yep, it's a collective, you know. It's like this is Lululemon. Let's say I was playing basketball. I'm way too short to play basketball. I'm 5'3", but
You might have a jumper.
yeah, right. I'm actually pretty good at shooting 3-pointers.
Nice,
Fun
see?
fact.
Yeah.
And I won a free throw contest, boys and girls in high school. So
And
I have
you
a
probably
plaque.
outshoot me.
No, not even.
No, I can't
not
shoot.
Even. I can't throw a football
cannot
for
shoot.
shit.
I can't throw, but I can catch it. Okay, but throwing is a different skill set for sure.
But yeah, just from like, you know, it ranges from like social media posts to, you know, brand partnerships, endorsements, merch, you know, autographs, signatures, and just being like, oh, like I'm wearing an outfit. So I actually have a good example. So me being a content creator, you know, I obviously make a lot of videos.
Right.
So I went to like this local t-shirt shop,
Yep.
skate shop in Huntington Beach. And, you know, I just was chatting with them, and they're like, oh yeah, like here's some free clothes. I'm like, sure, okay, thank you. I ended up wearing their shirt with, you know, their logo right in the front, and I posted a video, and that video ended up getting like 2 million views.
Wow.
So just because they gave me a free shirt,
Right.
I was like, yeah, I'll wear it. This is a cool shirt.
Yes.
I got them so much exposure,
Mm-hmm.
and like imagine, you know, with these NIL deals, it's contractual, so I'll be wearing, you know, whoever's sponsoring me every day, and they're
Right.
going to be in every single one of my videos.
Right.
And the exposure is just endless.
So let me ask you a question. So as a content creator, do you ever lead with that to like, hey, I'm coming by, or like you, because you it's a value add, right? I'm coming to your restaurant. It's gonna cost this much. I can also post about it. If I post about it, can I get the meal for free? Or, you know, do you ever actively go out and search brand partnerships?
So me personally, I'm just super busy in general. I've had many different like teams and managements, and right now I'm not represented by anyone. I don't have any management. But just in general, like myself, if I'm going to like, oh, I want to go to that location, I want to, you know, explore it or do a review on it, typically I will reach out and say, hey, I would like to come by. I do make, like, in regards to restaurants, I do make food content,
Yes.
but it's not like I'm a food reviewer or
Right.
vlogger, but I do
Right.
have food content in my videos.
Right.
And, like, typically when I do go to a place, it's, like, usually more mom and poppy
Okay.
and not any, like, thing crazy.
Yeah.
So I typically just like to do a post if I have a good experience. If I
Right.
have a good experience with them and service was awesome, food was amazing, I'm like, they were nice to me, they were awesome to me, like, I'll post it. As long as you guys, like, hey, if you guys want to just cover the food, I'll make a post about it. I had a
Right.
great time working with you guys and, like, a great time with your staff.
But almost even pro bono sometimes. Just like, this was an awesome place. I'm gonna give them a plug. And I bet they sometimes may call you back on the other
Yeah,
side, like, hey, you came in here and did this, and
Yeah.
a lot of people came in. Would you be interested in doing something with me or
Oh,
partnering with us?
100%. Yeah, I've, like, posted, like a story post or a feed post at a place, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, thank you for checking us out and posting about us, like, would love to have you back and, like, you know, try out our new course, our new meals and stuff. And I'm like, Yes, I absolutely would. I had a great
And
experience.
that's funny because it makes me think of like my time in college, and even though NIL wasn't a thing, it was definitely like we would go out to eat somewhere, or and especially if it was a couple guys on the team, and small, they would want to take a picture and maybe put it up, and it was the same thing, right? They were using you to help promote their brand. Like, oh,
Yes.
the athletes eat here, or the so and so eat here. So we weren't getting paid, but we would definitely get some perks and some benefits because of our likeness. So I wonder, like, from an athlete standpoint, I would recommend that you be aggressive, and you like, if you really want to max out,
Oh,
don't be
100%.
afraid to go out and let people know who you are, and what kind
100%.
of like social media presence you have, and how you can bring value to their business.
Yeah.
And
I've had that conversation with my partner, and I know in general, I do not utilize my following to its full potential or
Right.
advantage, which if I was not as busy, I'm so busy.
Yeah.
But if I had more free time, 100%, what I would recommend is, if you have like, even if it's like 15,000 followers or 10,000 followers, utilize that, shoot your shot, because it's like the worst you're going to get is no response or no.
Right.
You never know where a DM or an email is going to take you.
Where it can lead you, especially if it's something you like, right? It's a brand you always wear.
Yes.
You already got the following. You believe in it. Reach out to them and say,
Yes.
hey, I'm interested in partnering with you or doing
Yes.
something with you. And then, speaking of management, because I know that's a big question a lot of athletes get. There's a lot of people in their space right now, and the more they become a star, or the more they become marketable, you get management reaching out, looking. What would you say would be the a percentage, like, as far as, like, so if I'm a manager or if I'm an athlete and I have people come to me like, hey, I want to manage you, I want to get you some deals, what would you say would be a fair percentage that traditionally?
From a content creator perspective, because I'm not an athlete, I can't give the athlete perspective, but from a content creator, typically when I am working with a management, it's like, oh, we'll bring you deals and we take, between 20 to 25%.
Yeah, okay.
So that's typical.
That's pretty standard, yeah.
Yeah, that's typical. And like, I'll receive like inbound emails, and then I'll give it to my management. They'll take care of it,
Screen it out,
respond,
do all the everything. Yeah.
and like, put out like offers, just handle all the back and forth,
Right.
So yeah, about 20 to 25% is usually what they're asking.
And you in a manager, you expect them to screen deals, only bring things to you that should be interesting. They shouldn't be bringing you things that are going to make, even though it may be valuable monetarily, it could also put some seeds in your brand, or do some bad things to your brand. So you want to make sure they're screening out those things.
As long as it's a good manager. If it's a good manager, they'll know your brand image and what you're about. If it's a brand manager, they'll just be like, here, like, pick it. Just do it.
Because they're looking to try to max out for their self.
Exactly. I think I already mentioned it, but I was in a position where I was offered a lot of, money for a brand deal, and it was a very big brand deal, but I didn't align with the brand, or I didn't have the knowledge about the company and what they were about, and I had to step away from it. Although it hurt me, I had to, because it would have been very inauthentic for me to post content about something that I really didn't know about.
So it's like we said, know what you can't, everything cannot be a yes. You got to have an open mind.
Got to have a filter.
But you definitely need to understand, like, where you're going and where you want to go, and how that aligns with you and your brand and the presence that you want to have out there. Mm-hmm. So I believe wholeheartedly in that.
Yeah. So that's from a content creator perspective. So in regards, throwing that back at you, in regards to athletics and athletes, do you think it would be beneficial for them to have a representative, a manager?
I think so, because there's I'm a strong believer in make the main thing, right? And if you're fully focused on maxing out on the field or on the court or whatever it is your sport, you don't need to be like out there trying to get every deal and do everything for you. Now, if you're someone at a lower level and you're just trying to you know, see what you can get, like, because you don't have people reaching out to you, a manager's not really needed necessarily.
Yeah.
But if it's something where, like, I don't think you should be putting a lot of time and energy on getting those deals. And you know what I mean? I think if you feel like it's the right perfect opportunity, go for it.
Yes.
But you have to keep the main thing the main thing. And I think when you're an athlete, the sport, being a good athlete, being a good player, doing all the things you need to do in that space is going to bring all the notoriety and all the brands interested in you. And then you definitely need a manager. I think the biggest thing, though, is you need to make sure you're getting a fair deal. And don't let any kind of deal, any kind of thing that's being signed, even though you may trust your manager, you need to get a second set of eyes on it, and you need to make sure you understand everything you're signing,
100%.
what you're signing up for.
Always have a second pair of eyes on like a contract, especially if like you're about to sign it. Don't be the only one. Even if you don't have a manager, hire someone, someone in legal or someone that deals with contracts to review it and like redline it and just look through all the dots and sentences and periods.
Yeah, because that language can be a little,
complex,
overwhelming. Yeah. And if, as a young guy, you're like, hey, how much? 20,000 here. And next thing you know, you signed away your
whole brand, and you have to pay it back.
Yeah, or they're asking you to do something crazy, or you gave 50% of the money to somebody that does nothing, and they just middleman. So make sure you're being being aware and not just taking someone's word. And then from a percentage standpoint, I think 10% is probably standard, 10-15% on marketing. I know when I played, it was different because I only signed one contract, and that was into the NFL. And at that time, it was like most agents received 3%, so that was kind of just a standard thing. But
then again, 3% of a NFL contract is
a big deal.
Not something
it was definitely good. It was a good living, especially you get enough clients. But I think from a marketing standpoint, it's harder for those guys because they got to go out and sell you and bring the money, bring it to you, right? It's where the NFL, you kind of like, that deal is being brought to you because of what you've done, and the agent's just basically making sure the language on it is correct and everything. Where I think for marketing, you need somebody really beating the bushes, going out there, finding those deals, finding those brands, finding those things that align with you.
But that's awesome because now it's kind of like they could triple stack. So they have their scholarship, and then all these NIL deals, and then deals with brands.
Right.
So it's like stacking and stacking and stacking. That's why you really want to grow your social media following. You might think, oh, you're too cool for it, or you don't have enough time. Make time. Now is the time.
And it doesn't have to be a big deal. What I've noticed is content is, it doesn't always have to be like you doing something super interesting, right?
No.
It could be just your day-to-day.
The simplest things.
Yeah, because that's what people want to see.
Like, this is how I tie my shoes.
Right.
And, you're about to go on the football field, slip them on, tie it. Literally, that's it.
Did you see the post that blew up? I mean, the guy already has a bunch of followers, but the fitness influencer that did the morning routine.
You were telling me about that.
No, it's something simple like that.
And I actually, from that, you want to give context to the post, and then I have something else to say about it.
But no, it was just him showing his daily routine, and it was probably a little, hyped up, but still, the fact that, something as simple as just your daily routine, when you're an interesting person and a successful person, that's interesting to people. People want to see that. People are like, what does he do in the morning? How does he prepare? How does he, it could be as simple as like picking out, how you decide to pick out what outfits you wear to a game or something like that.
You want to know what's so funny with that? After talking with you, I noticed that individual's posts started a trend. Everyone was copying his videos and replicating his video. Mm-hmm. So it's like, wow, it just went super viral and like got crazy numbers and views, and literally now he kind of was a trendsetter for that specific, type of content.
Yeah, no, it's funny what catches on. It's a lot of crazy stuff, but it's also small, simple things, especially for the influencers or one of the people that are trying to build a brand, just showing a day in the life of what it takes. What's that sacrifice like? A lot of people don't even understand what the college football players' life is like. So if you show that, that would be huge. Just give them a day in your life.
Yeah, exactly. And in regards to, in regards to that, I was going to say, in regards to NIL, what platforms do you think is the most important in regards to like social media platforms?
I think it all depends on what you're going for. I think probably for most college, high school athletes, I think TikTok.
Okay.
TikTok is where all the youth are, right? And that's who you're probably marketing to. That's probably where you want to build your brand if you're a young athlete. You want the young kids to follow you, right? And
Yeah.
the younger athletes to follow you. So,
I'm excited to hear this answer because I also have the content creator answer to this.
Yeah, I mean, me, I'm a little older, so I'm Instagram, Facebook. I don't even know how to TikTok. Unfortunately, I need to get a TikTok. I think I may have one.
I can show you.
Yeah, I may have one, but
follow us on school.
I know for a fact TikTok is huge, and then I think YouTube. I think people sleep on YouTube. I think YouTube is really good for if you're doing anything where you're trying to be informative, right? Give a little bit of information or tell a full story. I think YouTube is a good space, and I know that from what I've heard monetarily, they do the best as far as like compensation when you have a YouTube page. So I would say, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, probably the three most important ones. And maybe I don't know how Snapchat works, so I'm not sure there.
I love Snapchat.
That's just a communication app at this point? I think that's the way my son uses it mostly. I think
not anymore.
Oh, is it more to it?
You could post spotlight. They're called spotlights. They're short form videos that you could post onto Snapchat. But I was gonna say that's funny that you didn't mention X/Twitter. But I was told that recruiters look at
for college athletes
Twitter.
Yeah, no, recruiting. Yeah, no, I was thinking just brand building.
Yeah.
To get recruited, Twitter is everything.
That's crazy.
Yes, Twitter is the X rather, is the platform.
And do you know why that is? It is very hard to grow on Twitter.
I think it's because a lot of coaches are on X, right?
Yeah.
And it's more for information.
That's true.
So a lot of coaches put their profile there, and they use that to
watch highlights.
A lot of kids, and then that's the way kids can reach out to a coach directly, right? Where on some of the other social media platforms, they don't have their name or whatever. For some reason, it seems like, and then with the whole Twitter was one of the first to give you that verification, right? So you knew it was the actual coach. It wasn't like a fake page or something of that nature.
Yeah.
So I think that's another reason why Twitter is such the main brand for like being recruited. Yeah,
has the hype.
Yeah, it's just a space. It's X, and it's good that the one thing everyone says they want to see your profile, your X name, and if you want to contact a coach, I guarantee you, if you look through X, you'll find pretty much every Division I college coach is on there, and they may not be actually sending out tweets, but if you can reach them that way because they have a profile on there.
They're not sending out tweets, but they're dang sure looking at tweets.
Yes,
you hear that? Get on Twitter. Post on Twitter.
Post on Twitter. Send content. Send highlight tapes. Make sure you give out good information and don't post things you're going to regret.
Yep. Be brand safe. You never want to post anything that's gonna tank you.
Yeah, and then we all got to have room for some leniency because kids make dumb decisions. I seen a pro athlete recently where like they pulled up a tweet from like 10 years ago and they were trying to like talk about something he said when he was 15. I was like, come on, man, he was 15.
Yeah, it's like I have. Oh gosh, I can't even remember my maturity level when I was 15. Right. Definitely not how I am now or when I was in college.
Yeah.
But in regards to content creator space, everything that you said, all those platforms, 100% key. I'd say, TikTok is huge. Instagram is huge. Snapchat, huge. YouTube, huge. Facebook, and X. Those are like
the main ones.
Those are the main ones. I mean, there's a lot more. You still have Threads, and you have Pinterest, and you have LinkedIn, and you have what else? You have like Amazon that you could post on.
Right. But I think those are the ones where you get the most bang for your buck, I think.
Yeah.
Do you post everything on all your socials?
I do. Yep. When I make a piece of content, I post it on all the platforms.
All
It's
your
like
platforms.
you already made it. You already made the piece of content. Why limit yourself to one platform? Because I've been in many situations where I post a video on one platform and it doesn't perform very well. But on another platform, it gets hundreds of thousands of views. So you really never know what to expect. So just post it everywhere.
Right. And what about the, do you think you have the same followers from space to space?
No, different followers, different demographic, different age range.
Wow.
Oh yeah, completely. It's very different. You know,
it's crazy.
Yeah, like my Facebook followers are completely different from my Snapchat followers.
Right. And
even Instagram and TikTok, it's different followers.
Different followers. And it's similar content, which is
content.
This just shows you the vast amount of people out there, right? And how you need to use every means that you have available to reach them.
Yep, exactly. Well, thank you so much. I love chatting with you, and just the information that we're sharing here is so important. You guys, thank you so much. If you haven't already, give us a follow at Pacific Lens Studio. Check us out on Schools, NILfluencer. If you want to learn more about NIL, students, athletics, social media, it's there.
And the next time we come together, we're going to talk a little bit more about the new NCAA law, or the new rule that just came out with the profit sharing, and how that's going to be another disruptor to the overall landscape of college sports. And then we'll have a few athletes, current and former, that went through the NIL piece of it, and we'll have some content with them, and that's going to be really good too. So look forward to continuing to educate and talk about this dynamic of NIL and how it's changing college sports.
Yep. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.